All right. Well, we had we're starting the recording again. We had a little bit of a stumble there, and a whole bunch of. I don't know if we'll be able to recreate the whole mouse thing.
Well, I think so. I mean, the story in itself is worth telling again.
Well, where I was going with it is Dan gave me a mouse for Christmas last year. And if you're watching us on Facebook, it's in the bag behind me. Mm-hmm. And then a few minutes ago, Dan revealed he needed a new mouse. And so I'm going to re-gift the mouse to him, which is, by the way, conveniently still in the Christmas bag. Well, where I wanted to get to is yesterday, for some reason, we were talking about it. And I went over to the Christmas bag, and Fred, he's re-gifted that. He's reused that bag because there's a little tiny, you know, it's not a card, but, you know, on a Christmas bag, it'll have a little folded thing so you can write somebody's name on it.
Oh, yes.
You know what the name is, Dan? Lisa.
No. Oh.
This was re-gifted from a thing you gave to Lisa.
Well.
Yeah.
I guess I erred in removing that little tag.
So
I didn't see it,
when I give it back to you.
Gifting the gift bag, that's normal.
You've double gifted this bag. And when I give it back to you, I'm going to... Yeah, what's that?
No, you don't want to waste the opportunity to talk about the environment. I thought you'd jump right in there. Why wouldn't you use the bag again?
Yeah, I should have ripped the tag off. But yeah, of course.
Well, that's what I'm going to do. But I'm not even going to rip the tag off. I'm just going to cross her name out and give it to you.
Yeah, that's not the mouse I want, though.
Oh,
that's a starter mouse.
Oh,
that's
it is. You want like a sophisticated
who may or may
mouse.
not use a mouse.
All right,
for a year.
Speaking of bags, my paper bag theft at Sobeys it's getting out of hand. I can hardly control myself now. It's wild. I always go to the self-checkout. Now I'm double bagging with paper bags and putting just a couple of items in and then putting zero and it asks me about the bags. It's crazy. It's something like I have to do. It's weird.
You're like a very simple kleptomaniac.
Yeah. It's bizarre. Because we like those paper bags for our recycling in the kitchen. For obvious reasons. And I just like to stack them up. You know, I don't like to run out of them. So now I don't even need to go to Sobeys, but I find myself in there looking to steal paper bags. It's crazy.
You're a double bagger then? You do like double bagging?
I am now.
Wow.
Even when I don't need to be, I double bag. And then I get that zero. So
that kind of takes me back. I remember when my parents... I remember my parents used to take... we used to go to Woodward's in Edmonton.
Oh, yeah.
They had a grocery store there in Woodward's. And we used to... I just seem to remember there was the paper bags were there. That was back in the time when paper bags were... That was before plastic.
Well, that was the norm.
Double bag.
Yeah, exactly.
That's before Yee-Man's uncle invented the plastic bag.
And people think we're kidding, but there's actually some truth in that. This guy's his uncle was responsible for a good portion of the plastic bag industry.
Yeah, look it up. It's
Come on,
I think his name was Walter or something, but
Walter Yee was his name.
As a matter of fact, I think it was CTV once they had a whole show on Canada's greatest inventors, and he was part of it.
Well, we're off to a good start this morning, and you talked about bags. Once we officially start the show, I have something to share with you guys that happened to me, and it's a bit embarrassing, but in the spirit of honesty and full disclosure, I have a bag story. Well, a bag-related story for you this morning.
Does it have to do with poop?
It does not, Dan.
Okay, good.
What? Were you gonna bail on the story if it had to do with poop because you're so sophisticated?
No, just the way you were framing it, I thought it had something to do with poop.
Why don't we do
talking about a physical bag or your squishy bag that hangs below
my elbow? There's one here, little squishy bag of whatever that is. How about this? Why don't we start the show and I'll just get right to it?
Okay. This episode of Humble and Fred is being broadcast to the world from our state-of-the-art Humble and Fred studio in Toronto, from our Brampton facility featuring a prestigious pool, and from a trailer in the Kawarthas with the Danis Duranis bust. I'm Dan Duran, broadcasting live from the Richard Bullis Zoom Theater, and brought to you by the Retirement Sherpa, the Chambers Plan, Bodog, our newest sponsor, Ridley Funeral Home, and Kelsey's Original Roadhouse. And now, here are two men who, while talking about Trump, will tell you that they aren't talking about Trump until later in the show. It's the pre-sale Trump Talk Gaslighters, Humble and Fred.
That is so true. That was yesterday. We're not going to talk about Trump right now. And then we ranted about him for about 20 minutes. Bill Brioux returns to our shoe. He was a guest on our Kelsey's 13th anniversary podcast party. And Bill will be making his regular Tuesday appearance today. And we're just 10 days shy of the actual anniversary date of October 11th, 2011 is when we started this.
Yeah, time flies, that's for sure. Wow. How old were you then? I was 55.
I was 51.
Punk.
I was 51 years old. That was a year before I got Stan. That was a year before you walked around the console one day after the show and said, I'm going to be a grandpa. And I gave you a big hug.
Yeah, right. Crazy.
So I'm going to tell you a story.
Yeah.
And lots of times things in our universe with Fred and I, and sometimes with Dan, but there's definitely something with you and I. There's a synergy. Sometimes you'll be talking to me about something, and it happened yesterday. I said, hey, I wrote down the same thing, and excuse me, we think a lot alike is the point.
Mm-hmm.
But there's something that happened to me that happened to you a long time ago. It has now happened to me. And it's pretty funny, actually. It's embarrassing, but it's kind of funny. Can you guess what it is?
Does it have something to do with gasoline?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
Okay, you said you're a bag. I'm assuming, do you mean your scrotum bag you were talking about?
Well, it's a little bit north of the scrotum bag. It's actually the base of the penis. And again, I'm going to speak to you guys as a doctor, so I'm going to use some medical terms, Dan. You may have heard of the penis.
Uh-huh.
Well, no, I'm thinking because the time I got gasoline on.
No, I know.
And it's
for later on in your life.
Later on in my life.
The time that you broke your wiener.
Oh, right. Fractured my peni. Yes.
And I've gotten clearance to share this story from my friend, the WID.
All right.
Who you all met the other night.
Sweet woman.
Lovely, lovely woman.
WID. Woman I'm dating.
Yeah. So shortly after, this happened a couple months ago, shortly after we became, active in the adult relations area, a couple of times I felt like a real weird pain at the base of my penis. And, and it kind of took me by surprise. And, but of course I worked through it. I didn't stop. I went, okay, well, this is, I guess, whatever.
Took one for the team.
Exactly. I'm not going to interrupt what I'm doing here to say, hey, hang on a second. I think I broke something.
But stop on a breakaway.
You don't want to stop on an open net. Exactly. That's very funny. Oh, no, I was definitely on a breakaway when it happened. And so, it happened a few times where at certain points in the game, coming across, center ice, it would happen again. I was like, oh, there's that feeling again. Mm-hmm. Cut to a couple weeks ago, and I was just watching a football game, and I was like, just rooting around in there as guys do. I was kind of like just moving things around. Dan, do you know what I'm talking about? Do you ever sit and watch TV and just like, you're adjusting yourself?
Yeah, I've adjusted.
Accordingly.
Dan needs a forklift. But anyway.
Dan needs tongs. He needs to go get the barbecue tongs. Anyway, I'm feeling around down there, in that area that has been painful a little bit, and I found a lump. And I, of course, immediately thought, okay, well, this is obviously cancer, and I'm going to have this thing lopped off finally. And
finally, what does that mean? I'm going to have this thing lopped off finally. What does that mean?
Maybe it would be for the best, because it's given me nothing but grief since about 11 years old. I can't leave it alone. I haven't been able to leave it alone since I found it. And I looked up what it is, because it's not on the outside. It's on the inside at the base. And sure enough, whatever you had, it's called like Peyronie's or
Peyronie's disease.
Peyronie's disease. And it's not the beer Peroni. And so I went to my doctor, and he agreed. It's feels like a calcified. It's like a cyst or something, like a hard lump. Anyway, I got to go get an ultrasound. So I've been calling it Dick Lump Private Eye, actually, is what I'm referring to. So now here I am at 64 years old. And when I was having the conversation with my doctor, and I was describing where it hurt, he's so funny. He said, have you been having aggressive sex? That's what he said. I swear to God, he asked me that. And I just paused for a second. I said, well, it's robust.
I said, what are the synonyms for aggressive? Yeah.
I said
let me check my phone.
I said I'm trying to put on a good show. It's kind of a new relationship. I'm doing my best, and she seems to like it. But I said, yeah, I don't know. Whatever it was, it has caused this little thing. Little thing is right. Inside the base of my penis. And so there you go. There you go. This is me. The last couple of months doing the show with you guys, I've just been sitting here with this thing.
Well, this is something guys should know about. Peyronie disease is a condition in which fibrous scar tissue forms in the deeper tissues under the skin of the penis. This causes curved, painful erections. It also can make the penis shorter while erect. Last thing you need, Howard. Mm-hmm. Dan, fuck, you should try it. Yeah. Anyway.
You should snap yours in half.
Peyronie disease, not caused by cancer, which makes you feel better. And it can vary in shape and size, this disease, and how it affects you.
Well, that's
again, my situation, you don't... It's called a fracture, but in a different way than an actual bone. And then because of that injury, then the fibrous tissue starts to form, and that was my problem.
And that's what's happened. That's exactly what has happened. I've got some fibrous tissue there. And yet, I will say this, still fighting through it. Yeah.
I went on medication. It was horrible medication. The idea was to sort of burn out the fibrous tissue or help it along, but I couldn't handle it. I just had constant diarrhea, so then I had to just wait it out.
That's fun for everybody.
No, I know, but I'm just telling you the truth.
I appreciate it.
And then I had to wait it out, and it took a few years. But it was always a weird feeling when I had it. Like there was just something there beyond the fact that it was bent.
Well, I haven't had my stick's not bent yet.
Well, it depends on where it is. If it's near the base, then it probably won't be, right?
Yeah, so. But it was one of those things when I first discovered it, it was a Thursday night. The reason I know that is because I had a conversation with my doctor on Saturday, because I called him on Friday. But when I discovered it, and even though I went and looked up probably what it was, man, it gave me pause for a day, thinking, well, what if it's not a fibrous, what'd you call it, a fibrous?
Scar tissue.
Yes. What if it's not that? What if this is, something more nefarious? I'm like, what of all the things I can get, why dick cancer?
Yeah.
So... But maybe it's, I've also, and it gave me, I was a little bit nervous for a day, and then I left him a message saying, hey, can you give me a call back? I need to come and see you. And then by the time he called back, I was like, I'd looked it up. And that's when I saw that it was sort of what you had. And it all made sense, because when I felt this pain for the first time, it was clearly something. I don't know whether it snapped or. I remember when you described it to me. Mm-hmm. Like when it happened. Well, I know that
I know what happened.
Yeah, I knew the first time I felt that pain. I had never felt it before, so I thought, "Oh, that's weird." But I also hadn't been quote unquote active for a while, so I thought, "Oh, maybe it's just getting back in the game." I don't know.
See, mine was different because it was about 6 inches, about halfway up. My shaft.
Oh, what was it?
About 6 inches.
Yeah. You mean 6 centimeters?
So it literally, you could see it bend, and again, that could become, and at its pinnacle, it was a bit uncomfortable. Nothing that you couldn't just work through. But it says here, this can prevent you from having sex, or it might make it hard to get or keep an erection, which is also called erectile dysfunction. Oh yeah,
is that what it's called? Well,
and this disease can cause stress and anxiety, and you're displaying that now because your mind runs wild when you look down and see a problem there, right?
Well, the thing is, I can't. It's not visible. It's only, and it doesn't bother me. And has not bothered me or produced those unfortunate results at all. It's I'm only aware of it when you go when you touch it, and since the WID and I have been resumed our adult
There's more
relationship.
touching.
Well, no, it hasn't been a problem. It doesn't bother me. That pain is there a little bit. Mm-hmm. But again, I'm working through it.
Only during the sessions, or
yes. It's
okay.
only it never.
So it's not like one of your add-on pains to all the pains you already complained about. Okay, yeah.
You mean like the litany of things that are wrong with me? No.
Peyronie disease rarely goes away on its own. In most people with the condition, it will remain as it is or may get slightly worse early on. Early treatment soon after you get the condition may keep it from getting worse or even improve symptoms. Well, I'm lucky. I guess I thought mine went away on its own because I stopped taking the medication. But anyway, yeah, it's a thing.
So it's an ultrasound now?
Well, that's the weird thing is Sharif wants me to, Dan and I have the same doctor. Sharif is his name. And he wants me to go get an ultrasound. He's given me a requisition, but he's looking through the ultrasound form. Most people know what that is. And there's like all these there's about 30 or 40 different things. And he couldn't find it. So he had to write it in, something scribbled about the base, the shaft of the penis. And now I'm going to have to call. And he said, well, just explain it to them when you call. I'm like, oh, that's going to be a great conversation. Yeah, I need an ultrasound wand on my dick, please.
Well, the thing is, for radiation and all that stuff or whatever, and although it's not an MRI thing, it's literally like a medical glory hole. You stick it through. And then they deal with it on the other side.
It's a medical glory hole. I don't know that.
Yeah.
I'll call up and say, well, I'm going to need one of your medical glory holes.
Yeah.
Then I'm going to go and there, and then I have to explain it all over again. Yeah, what I'm going to need you to do is wand me down here by the saccage. Anyhow.
Plus, they have to use that lubricant too. That might be all right, depending on who applies it.
Oh yeah,
that ultrasound lubricant. Here you go, Howie. Okay, settle down, Mr. Glassman, please.
That's right. Can you move the wand around a little bit, please? Can you just? I'm going to need you to warm that gel up. Anyways, there I go.
That wand, does it not vibrate? Please.
Yeah, could you turn on the vibrate function, please? Dick lump, private area eye. I got a dick lump. Now I'm a guy with a dick lump. That's who I am now. 64 years old. Made it here without a dick lump. Now I am. Okay. So there you go. I wanted to share that with you guys because I talked to my friend. I said, "Are you okay if I tell this story?" She's like, "Yeah, go ahead." And I will say, she has been...
service. It's a service.
She has been tremendous, careful and caring with that area, paying its special attention. I can only say, sometimes I wish... Exactly. I wish I'd had a dick lump earlier because the attention that I'm getting. Oh, you poor thing, she'll say.
Uh-huh. Does she wear a nurse's uniform at that point?
Sometimes. Nurse's uniform, high heels, whatever.
Yeah. It is the season now that it's October,
yes,
right?
Yes.
Pumpkin spice and costumes, they come out of the trunks.
It's Lumptober over here. It is the 1st of October, everyone. This is the beginning of a new month of nonsense on the Humble and Fred Show. And soon we'll be celebrating all the October Thanksgiving and some Hebrew stuff. I think it's Rosh Hashanah soon, and then Halloween, and then Suckvember will be around the corner.
Hey, did you guys work at a radio station that went with Rocktober ever? Did you do a Rocktober?
I did not.
Ever?
Did you?
Yeah. I can't remember which one it was, but I know that we did a couple of Rocktobers in my career.
No, I never did.
Jesus. What is that exactly?
Oh, it's just promo stuff, right? Rocktober. And, I don't know, you play some rock songs or some sort of promotional thing on the weekends. I don't know.
Because how would Rocktober be different than Rock September? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
well, some sort of
if you're
big
a rock
promotion
station, you're still playing rock.
Yeah.
But I get it, though.
It used to be that it wasn't, October kind of around ratings time.
Oh, no, absolutely it is.
Yeah, so that's...
Well, right after Labor Day it started.
Yeah. So it'd probably be something to do with ratings.
You guys aren't downtown as much as me, but maybe you've seen these billboards that Q107 has. And they've used them before. I think this campaign of a newborn baby holding up the devil horn signs and saying "Born to Rock." And the only reason I bring it up is it just seems so old-fashioned to me. It seems so from an era that you're sort of referring to, Dan. The sort of cliche, weird little radio station things.
Yeah. I'm still bewildered by why are you promoting your music and not your people? But anyway, because the music you can get anywhere, but you can't get that much. And from what I hear, the morning show's doing quite well now, too. Like, it's quite amusing and entertaining.
Where, at Q?
At Q with, Ryan and Johnny and a girl named... Well, it's a girl. She's got a name. I don't know who it is. But, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like... I don't get it.
Yeah, well, they're not promoting anything but this baby. Mm-hmm. Just got a note
what
from...
do I know? I know nothing.
Well, you used to be a program director. I just got an email, a message from our friend Rudra Rishi Maharaj, who was also at Kelsey's last week, who has informed me that Rosh Hashanah starts tomorrow. So there you go. I'm a horrible Jew. I am a terrible Jew.
Bad Jew.
Bad Jew. That's why maybe I'm being punished. My dick lump is punishment for not knowing that Rosh Hashanah is tomorrow. Mm-hmm. Do you know what Rosh Hashanah is, Dan? Dan or Fred? I don't. This is
by the way,
open.
it's Shauna.
By the way, it's what?
There, so I apologize.
It's Rosh Hashanah.
It's Shauna, Ryan, and. Yeah, but then the morning show is...
No, he's still talking.
Oh, he's still talking about Q. That's funny. You froze up. I moved on to Rosh Hashanah. You're talking about the morning show at Q.
Mm-hmm. Yes. But Dan, do you know what Rosh Hashanah is? Howard, it's something, don't you, everybody holds hands and you talk and you do like a chant when you're eating dinner or something? Isn't that it?
Yeah, you described it perfectly. It's Jewish New Year is the answer I was looking for. You just described every holiday.
So the Jewish New Year, what year is it again? It's something wacky, isn't it?
Well, it's not wacky. It's this. What year is it in the world? It's not 2020. It's only 2024 because of Jesus. It's not really.
Excuse me for saying wacky. I meant just because it's a much larger number.
Yeah, it's like 6,000. Whatever. It's which even that is silly. I mean, the fact that we keep track of the years, and again, it's not my bit. It's Louis C.K.'s. But when Louis C.K. talks about religion, he said, his whole point was, you Christians, I don't know what you're worried about losing your religion. If you're wondering which religion won, ask yourself what year it is.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, we literally all think it's 2024 because of a guy who may or may not have existed 2,024 years ago. Dan, anything from you?
Nope, I agree with you there. Yeah.
Dan's going, the morning show at
Millions of
Q
years
is
old,
Shona,
but,
Ryan, and...
Shauna.
Shauna.
Shauna, Ryan, and Johnny over there.
Yeah, well.
But, Rosh Hashanah.
Rosh Hashanah, Ryan, and Johnny. That's the new name of it. That's what I would do. That's what I would do if I was those guys tomorrow. I would change the name of the morning show to Rosh Hashanah and Ryan. Rosh Hashanah, Ryan, and whatever. See, that's what you and I would do. For our
Jewish friends.
That's what you and I would do. And we change the name of the morning show.
And then play a lot of Rush. Geddy Lee's Jewish.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Play a lot of Rush. That's really funny, too.
Hey, yeah. So, Howard, you don't... you have no plans for this? Because there are Jewish holidays or Jewish occasions that you do get together with your family. Why not this one in particular?
That's a good question, actually. I don't know. Usually I get an invitation to ex-wife Randy's place, at least because it's a 2-night affair. I think this is a 2-nighter. It might be just one night, but whatever it is, I usually get an invitation. This year, Randy was away, so maybe that's why there's no Rosh Hashanah at her place.
Where did she go?
Well, she'll go to her sister's.
No, where did she go where she was away?
Her and her sister just came back from Florence and Rome.
Oh, nice.
For Randy. Randy turned 60 in the spring.
Wow.
And they went together for a little birthday trip.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good for them.
I don't know if everyone needs that update, but sure, now you have it.
Yeah, I like to know. I like Randy. I like to know what she's up to.
Nah, she's doing great. So normally I would do Rosh Hashanah. What's the name of that? It's Shauna, Ryan, and Johnny?
Johnny.
Normally I would do Rosh Hashanah, Ryan, and Johnny with the family. But this year I don't think I saw the kids. The kids were over on Sunday, so I guess that was our Rosh Hashanah, Ryan, and Johnny.
So that's what the actual show is called, Dan?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Right on.
Well, nevertheless, we are, to our Jewish friends, wish you a happy New Year. We'll do that tomorrow. That'll be our Rosh Hashanah special. That'll be. I'm gonna celebrate it by working my fibrous whatever. What is it? Fibrous.
Yeah.
What was that phrase you used from the definition?
Scar tissue.
Fibrous scar tissue.
Or dick lump private eye.
That's right. Dick lump.
Yeah, you go into the dinner saying, hey, who wants to feel my lump?
That's right.
Ask Grandy's mother. She's still alive, right?
Oh, yeah.
She's still.
Hey, Barb.
Hey, Barb, you want to feel my lump?
You want to feel my fibrous scar tissue? Sure. It's here by my dick. It's in my dick area. This Rosh Hashanah is the most fun. All right. Well, there's lots of stuff.
Right.
All right. Just a quick little sidebar for you guys. When Elon, because Fred asked me yesterday, how do I feel about Tesla, knowing that Elon Musk is such a shithead? And I said, I just feel fine because he didn't make my car, his company did. But Dan, you might be interested in this because of your social media awareness. When he bought Twitter, it was valued, whatever you call it now, X. When he bought it, it was valued at $44 billion. Do you know what it's valued at now?
Half that, probably.
$9 billion.
What?
Come on.
He's lost over just close to 79 or 80% of the value of that company is gone.
I bet you whoever financed that are going like, we really made a mistake on this one.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Speaking of losers.
They're not going to get their money back.
No.
Same with Truth Social. That whole Trump media thing's it's a disaster, to use a word he loves to loot.
There's no one's ever seen.
There's a book out. It's called Lucky Loser, How Donald Trump Squandered His Father's Fortune. And this book, I saw a review on it the other day on television. And it just goes through what a horrible, horrible businessman he actually is.
Yeah.
So when you hear these people say, "Oh, I'd rather have a businessman running the country than a cackling fool," that's what they call Kamala. Just so you know, I mean, the real story about this guy's history as a businessman is dismal. It's absolutely dismal. And in fact, they say if he'd have taken his father's $400 million and just put it in given it to a Sherpa, he'd be farther ahead.
Yeah. Did you read that today? Did you read that excerpt that Julie Fleming, our political correspondent, sent us from the New York Times? You should read it because it's an excerpt from that book. And what's interesting,
interesting.
Mm-hmm. What's interesting about it is it's the section where they outline what his fortune was, how he squandered it, but also how Mark Burnett of Survivor fame remade Donald Trump's image because of The Apprentice. And in fact, The Apprentice and The Celebrity Apprentice added $400 million to Trump's fortune, which at the time, he was on the verge of bankruptcy, that stupid casino, a casino that he couldn't make work.
More than one, Howard.
Yeah.
So Mark Burnett, really, he's responsible for a lot of this, because if he'd have never had the idea for The Apprentice, like Donald Trump may, well, who knows where
he would have just been this guy on the periphery who was on Stern the odd time. Mm-hmm. In tabloids, remember tabloids? Trump, the fact is, he was the fourth person that Burnett had sort of thought about. It was, what's his name, Buffett, a couple other real billionaires. And when they first went to Trump Tower, the smell of moldy carpets and the fact that it was kind of run down and shitty looking, that Apprentice. The Apprentice, the Trump you saw on The Apprentice, that was all a set.
No, absolutely, because his actual, where he actually hung out, as you say, was just gross. But I'd like to get this book because I want to be armed with. Because from time to time you're in that situation, people go, yeah, he may be a bit of an asshole, but he's a good businessman. That's what you need running the country. I just want to be armed with more data on how useless this guy has been as a... And not only that, and I think they get into so much of, even before The Apprentice, how he is on the hook with the Russians is apparently staggering. Mm-hmm. And again, then you make all the connections to Putin while he... seems to love Putin and will never say anything bad about Putin. There's just so much there.
And I can't believe I actually said our discussion before the show. Facts don't matter to these people anymore. No. We were talking about a situation with a friend of yours who has to do some business in the States and actually interacts with people in the Trump universe, not cult, maybe not the MAGA people, but certainly Trump adjacent. And as I said to you could give them all the facts that we're talking about now, how he was literally Trump water, Trump steaks, Trump shuttle, the flying sir, the aviation thing, all run into the ground. And they would not, and they just don't believe it because it's all fake news, fake media, mainstream, blah, blah, blah.
And this fellow I know he has confirmed what we've thought, what I've said from the beginning. It just all they love his racist dog whistles. They love that part of him. So they're willing to put up with everything else because they think this guy is going to turn the country around as far as brown people go and putting people in their place and turning the country back into what it was in the 50s or 60s or early 70s, whatever era. But that's what it's all about. He has enabled the underbelly of that nation and I don't know if you can turn that around. Yesterday he polls, the history of his polling is so underreported that it's scary when you look at the polling now because you just... On election night, he could just cruise to victory.
Now, Dan, to be clear, we're not talking about Trump now. This is not a Trump section.
Right, no, we're going to talk about it later.
Yeah, see, this is the Trump way. We tell you we're not talking about it while talking about it.
While talking about Trump.
That way we get credit for not talking about it as much as we do talk about it.
Yeah.
I mean, yesterday, in the wake of this disaster down there, you know, again, this was part of our fucking who says re? Who says re out loud? What a douche I am. So, yeah, I just got to make myself sick. Anyway, so about our conversation before the show, I said, you know, there's facts, verifiable facts that the governor of one of these states, Brian Kemp, I don't want to get too detailed, but the governor of one of these states was on television at a press conference a day or two ago talking about the Biden-Harris response to this hurricane, how everything was well coordinated, etc. And then a day later, there's this ass face talking about how Brian Kemp couldn't even get him on the phone. Well, that's bullshit. It's a lie, and it's a verifiable lie. So how does a Trump supporter sort of reconcile the fact that on one day they saw the governor say their response from the president was great, and the next day Ronald McDonald telling them that it wasn't?
It's just evil. It's just an evil lie. And the thing is, we don't like the guy. We know he lies to us. What bewilders me, again, something else that bewilders me, he lies to the actual people that love and support him. He's lying to you, people. He's lying. And then he comes out yesterday in North Carolina. That was Brian Kemp. That's Georgia, the governor, right?
Yeah.
North Carolina, he comes out and he says Biden and Harris aren't helping Republican districts in the state. They're only helping the Democratic. Like, what an evil, rotten thing to say.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like,
and all that does.
There's your guy.
Yeah, there's your guy. All that does. Again, Dan, this is not a Trump discussion. This is just.
Right, we're coming up to a Trump discussion later in the show.
There may be stand by for Trump discussions. Actually, we got to run because Bill Brioux is standing by. Dan Duran's news coming up. Nick Innes, not only the condo report now, Fred, but did you hear the news? Nick Innes has his own podcast.
He's a podcaster. Yes,
he's a podcaster now.
Nicky.
In the meantime, we will take a moment and thank these fine folks.
Hey, Tim Niblett is a portfolio manager. Raymond James, a member of the Canadian Investors Protection Fund. Timmy will be by tomorrow. Yes, it will be Tim. And he says, with students back in school, let's remind everyone how great RESPs can be. Who can contribute, generally how it works, future flexibility on those programs. So we'll have all that information tomorrow from the Retirement Sherpa, who reminds you, if you have a portfolio and you need somebody to have a second look at it, just, give their opinion, on where you're at with it. He will do it. No strings attached, no obligation, no cost. He's the Retirement Sherpa. Tim Niblett, retirementsherpa.ca.
And, it may not be a bad idea to have the Sherpa or your Sherpa have a look at this company that supports us. In the news, the latest news from Boron 1 is that things are moving along with their boron project overseas. And as I've mentioned several times, boron is in everything. And this company has done something very few junior mining companies have done, which is get to a point where, in the not-so-distant future, they may be taking boron out of the ground commercially, and then this stock is going to probably soar. Do we know that? Can we claim that? No, we can't. All we can do is say, have a look at Boron 1. And how you do that is go to boron1.com. While we get our guests settled here, let's see what the appearance of Bill Brioux, who made quite a stir. This fellow was quite the hit at our little panel show, our little show in the evening at Kelsey's. The reviews are in, and this fella, he knocked it out of the park. Welcome back to our program. William Brioux. Hello, Bill.
Good morning, Howard. How are you today?
Fantastic, sir.
Thank you. Yeah, that was a lot of fun the other night.
How did Sandra like the beer?
She liked it very much. Yeah, and I shared some with my neighbor in my ex neighbor, my buddy Doug in Brampton, who loved it as well. So thank you guys very much.
Yeah, it's quite the hit. Beer drinkers like that beer, and that's always a good thing.
Absolutely.
It's an ale. Is there an ale and a lager, or is it just an ale right now?
No, just an ale. We're at the ale stage, yes.
Gotcha. Okay.
Hey, Fred, do you have? I think we should take a second. Do a little Humble and Fred email. Subject line: 13th anniversary podcast party. This is from Dan. Oh, you read this yesterday. Did you not read this yesterday? Dan Nowasad?
Yes.
Right, and this is the guy we want to get on the show?
Yes.
Well, I just want to highlight that, of course, he said, hi, guys.
Hi, guys.
I enjoyed the 13th podcast party, especially Bill Brioux's comedy stylings. What do you think of that, my friend?
I owe Dan some money, I think. Yes. That was very nice.
Here's what he said, Bill is funnier than I thought and have since subscribed to his podcast. Well, what do you think of that, smart guy?
Yeah, look, it pays to appear with Humble and Fred. It radiates, it spreads, joyous spread, and
we appreciate
so
that.
I appreciate the exposure, and yeah, it helps. And honestly, guys, when I do the showings at the Westdale, a lot of folks have heard about it from Humble and Fred. So thank you again.
Well, seeing that you're a funny guy during those nights you have in Hamilton, why don't you get up and do 5 or 10 minutes? You know,
That's right.
Mm-hmm. I used to do shtick when in university days with my buddy Pat Bullock. So I was part of a duo, so I could get up there and do just the Abbott parts of who's on first. Who? That's what I'm saying. I don't know if that would go over.
Let's make this official. Bill, of course, has a podcast called. What's your podcast called again? I don't have it in front of me.
It's called Brioux TV, the podcast.
That's right. Mm-hmm. And of course, a newsletter. I saw it yesterday. It was always exciting. I actually looked at the newsletter for any mention of your appearance on the Humble and Fred show, but I understand you want to keep that on the down low. You don't want people to. You don't want to cross-pollinate. That
was an oversight on my part. Yeah, no, I did. The newsletter sort of tells you what are the last 5 or 6 stories on the Brioux.tv, the site, and then just highlights that week's particular episode of
Bill,
the podcast.
Listen, I don't want to put you on the spot. Listen, this wasn't meant to embarrass you. I just thought, you're an entertainment reporter. You appeared on an entertainment podcast and killed. Yeah. I would have thought, maybe you would have included some audio of you making everyone laugh. Oh, you know what? For another time, next 13th anniversary we have.
Oh,
didn't that? Or am I mixing it up with another email? Something about Bill made him piss his pants or something?
Oh yeah, Bill was quite the hit.
Yeah.
Let's get to what's on television now. The first thing you mentioned in your notes here is Ellen DeGeneres. For your approval, her latest and apparently last Netflix stand-up special. I've seen it, but I want to hear your opinion first.
It's not funny, and for your approval is basically, and her big joke is I was fired from television, and if people remember, she had a daytime talk show for about 18 years. It was very successful, but reports started to come out that she wasn't very pleasant, that the people running the show were awful, and that more and more guests were even sort of saying, hey, this wasn't fun. So her image was sort of, she's dancing, she's laughing, and it just wasn't so. And this came back, in this age of the internet where everybody gets canceled, she kind of got gang tackled, and despite their popularity, the show ended. So she's a bit bitter, and it shows on this comedy special, which is never a good look.
Now, what she actually says is, I got fired from show business for the second time, because the first time she got fired from show business was when she came out while she had a very popular sitcom years ago. It seems like a 1,000 years ago.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I had seen your notes before I watched it. So I thought, okay. And by the way, you weren't the first person that I had seen or read that it wasn't a very great special. But I've liked her for a long time. And I've always thought she was at the highest level of ability when it comes to stand-up. So I agree with you that I didn't think it was the funniest thing I've seen her do. But I'll tell you this, Freddie. If you do watch it, the 3,000 people in that theater, they think it's hilarious. Do you know what I mean? And there were a couple of great lines. The line about Ronald McDonald, the CEO thing, there's a couple of actually like really funny lines. Yeah. But I agree with you that mostly watching it, I didn't hear a lot of that skill. But I kept thinking to myself, man, Billy, if we were watching it in that theater, would we have thought it was funnier?
Well, you know how it is. If she's such a big name and a big star, and that sort of carries a lot of weight. And if you're in the audience and you've paid for those tickets and people are laughing, you're going to howl because, I get it too. I just thought that the laughter in the theater made me like this special even less because I didn't think the jokes were funny. Well, and I agree. She's a very skilled comedian. And her humor is very observational. It's a lot like Seinfeld. But I just thought some of the jokes she was goofing on, why do they have so many left turn signals in cars? I don't understand that. And I was like, well, yeah, okay.
I know.
Well, Howard, we've talked about that before. When people buy tickets and sit down, they expect to laugh, so they do, even if it's not warranted. I talked about this last spring, just up north near the trailer. There's a hotel there, had a Yuck Yucks night. We all went over there, and it wasn't very good at all. And it was interesting to sit and watch all the people at the tables laughing at stuff that I wouldn't even consider laughing at. Like just in glee, like laughing at these comics that weren't very funny. And it gets back to that. They all paid $20. They're there for a good time. They think they're supposed to laugh, so they do.
Absolutely.
It's interesting.
and
that's interesting.
On this point, I watch an old clip now and then. I'll look at like old Tonight Show clips with Johnny Carson or something like that online. And it was like an early Carson, which a lot of those episodes are lost. So this was in the 60s, early 60s. And he would be telling jokes. They weren't tremendous jokes for anything, but people would laugh instead of applaud. Like back in the old days, that's what happened. And if you look at a talk show today, the monologue is just even Bill Maher, who I like, it's a series of applause cues for the live audience.
Yeah, applause breaks.
And it wrecks it for me now.
It's awkward, isn't it?
And that's what I was going to say. Like I was watching it through this filter of knowing you and I would have this discussion and what you thought of it, and I don't disagree. There were so many applause breaks, as we comics call them, that were just so, as I would say, not earned. Is when you when you've earned it is you get a laugh, you get a bigger laugh, and then the biggest laugh, they laugh so hard it forces them to laugh and applaud. What she was getting was recognition applause, meaning that they're so delighted. And again, I'm not disagreeing with anything you've said, but just my observation is they're so delighted that they're in a theater, they've paid $100+. It's Ellen DeGeneres, and they don't disagree with what she's saying. And you're right, Bill. There weren't that many funny jokes, but there were lots of moments where people were displaying their agreement level by applauding.
Yeah. Well, it's like, I think our room is a tough room. When I'm watching with Sandra, we just don't. And I think that was an easy room, Howard.
Oh, yeah. Right? Listen, man, you got bigger laughs. You got bigger legitimate laughs at Kelsey's than Ellen DeGeneres did in her special. And by the way, thank you for that. Thank you for that acknowledgement of my that little line that we.
That was hilarious.
Thank you.
That was very funny.
Thanks.
Speaking of tough rooms, and again, not to take this off track right now, but quickly, last night, my wife Delisa watched The Voice. I think all 26 seasons. I gave up long ago, and there was no sports on last night. She said, "Just sit and watch it with me." Well, the panelists this year are Snoop Dogg. Michael Bublé, Gwen Stefani, and Reba McEntire. Oh, that Snoop Dogg's a pretty funny guy. Like he he made the show. Him and Michael Bublé together made the show for me. I will actually watch it again because of those two guys. Because I'm the same thing. Tough Room. It's like, boy, if I'm not into it, I just have no patience or time for it. But
Right.
Snoop Dogg's pretty funny guy.
He is.
Yeah. And
how about this? Yeah, let's move on to a couple other things that I think will be of interest to people that are fans of yours. This documentary on Netflix, I saw it. It was in the coming soons, and I watched the trailer, and it's pretty interesting. It's called Will and Harper, and maybe you can describe it for our audience.
Yeah, so we all know, of course, Will Ferrell and his buddy, who is a comedy writer, and these two guys started together on Saturday Night Live. One was a writer, one was a performer, and a lot of sketches that Ferrell from were written by this gentleman. He has transitioned. He's now going under the name Harper, and he comes out to tell Will Arnett, this is what's happening, and they decide, well, let's, I want to support you, says Will Ferrell, and let's go on a road trip, and we'll see how that goes. Now that it's a very generous act. It's it's kind of something you want to really cheer on these two. It's an interesting idea. They go to a lot of places where in the middle America where sitting in a bar with a trans companion is going to cause a problem. And so some of it seemed kind of forced to me, these situations. They go to a demolition rally or things like that. To me, it bothered me that they were doing this with a cameraman. Mm-hmm. It was clear that it was documented. So you had this genuine emotion coming out, these moments, this great friendship between these two people. The other thing that worked against it, though, I felt, is that Will Ferrell's entire career has kind of been, is he putting us on? And so you're watching thinking, and even the audience that's reacting to them along the way and along the trip, he dresses up at one point in a Sherlock Holmes outfit, which I guess would get a laugh normally, but they were getting heckled in a bar. And so Ferrell was quite upset. You see him genuinely doubt himself and question his comedy abilities. It was a mixed bag for me. I didn't like it as much as I thought I would.
It's funny you said that about Will Ferrell, because, and again, I had seen it in the trailer stage, and I thought, this isn't. It certainly is an interesting concept. But you also touched on something that I've thought about Will Ferrell for a while, which is his persona, like the elf persona, which I love that movie.
Right.
His persona, how is that going to age for a guy in his late 50s into his 60s?
Yeah, you're right. It's a problem. He jokes at one point. They go for a swim in the hotel pool, and he's put on a few pounds, and he's jumping in the water in a Speedo to make his pal feel less self-conscious. But he jokes about having a dad body and things like that. And he's grayer hair and older now, and it does change things, I think. Yeah.
Saturday Night Live 50th anniversary show on Saturday night. I didn't catch it. Obviously, you did.
Yeah, and we seem to be on a rut here. I'm sorry I'm not finding things as funny, especially with my sterling reputation for being Mr. Hilarious.
Well, now that you're known as... Listen, dude, once somebody refers to you as the comedy stylings, the pressure gets intense. But I saw some of that cold opening. It was pretty good, I thought.
It was pretty good, and you had great people doing it. Dana Carvey did Joe Biden, and spot on physically, and no joke. He had all the phrases that Biden would say.
Yeah,
and Maya Rudolph is always funny, so that was pretty good. But it went on, and it was 16 minutes before you got to the host, Jean Smart, doing her monologue, and she barely had time to do it. The opening sequence for the 50th season is sensational. Whoever they got to cut that, it just really moves. Holy smokes. They're jumping in and on the subway, and they're, Bowen Yang looks, he's peering over Manhattan skyscrapers. It's really, really good. But I didn't find much of the rest of the show that funny. And it's, again, we talk, raised expectations. It's the 50th season. We've seen all the promos. This is going to kill. And when it doesn't kill, then you're thinking, oh, Saturday Night Live.
Wait, Bill, you're saying that their cold open was 16 minutes long?
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
I only saw some highlights from it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it went on. Yeah.
I saw a thing the other day. I fell into a Norm Macdonald rabbit hole. There was a writer for Saturday Night Live talking about when Norm was there and how often they would be in the writer's room stuck for the ending of a bit. And he'd walk by, stick his head in, and come up with like one word.
Okay, you want to hear that piece?
Oh, you got that?
Yeah, I got it. The guy that's doing the talking in this clip was not just a writer at Saturday Night Live. He became Jay Moore. And Jay Moore is a comedian. He's an actor.
Okay.
You don't recognize him in this clip because he's a little older, but he's also has the reputation of doing one of the best Norm Macdonald impressions. Have a listen.
Here's the best rewrite ever on SNL. We had to rewrite this sketch. This film piece where Farley's at a drive-thru window in his car, and he goes, "Yeah, I'll have 14 cheeseburgers and 14 hamburgers, 14 chicken sandwiches, 14, Diet Cokes, and 14 apple pies and 14 French fries." And the lady in the box goes, "Will that be all?" And as it was written, he goes, "No." And it was like TBD, like, I'm still working on this joke. So when I tell you 2 hours at like 1 in the morning, 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, coming up with that joke, like, what if he just repeats the exact same order? Like, "Will that be all?" "No. I'll also have," then he repeats the exact same order. Or, "No," and then he just goes, "Make those Diet Cokes." Or like, "No, give me 15 apple pie." Around and around we went. And then Norm Macdonald's, we didn't even know he was in the room.
God,
he's on a couch, like, on the other side of the room. He goes, "Hey, you guys are talking about it. Chris at the drive-thru window." We all like jump, like he's like a fucking phantom. He goes, "Yeah," he goes, like, "Yeah, give me 44 cheeseburgers and all those French fries, and that was, what is it, apple pies, The gal in the box goes, "Will that be all?" Chris says, "Yes."
Isn't that great?
That's great. Yeah.
Jay Moore is a very funny stand-up as well, but I've seen him do Norm Macdonald before. I said to Fred yesterday, Bill, that when I was doing Yuck Yucks in the 80s, I had worked with Norm a couple of times, but what I thought was more interesting, again, was that you could always tell who had worked with Norm last, because the following week, all they did was sit around and, talk like that there. And it was hard to shake it. Mm-hmm. But
they could have used Norm Macdonald, I think, to punch some of the stuff. It's just the premises, guys. It was sort of, they had, and again, you imagine being in the writer room, because that's a tough place to pitch a skit. And it just seemed like some of them, they should have said, "What else you got?" And they had one. It was Jean Smart. She's a writer of romantic novels, but she's just written a math textbook. So 3 + 3 caresses the lovely 9. Like it went on.
Yeah.
So you could guess any of us could sit down and write this sketch, but they went ahead and did that, and it just wasn't a great premise.
That David Spade and Dana Carvey.
Yeah.
There's an episode they described the Saturday Night Live writer's room, and it's just excruciating. The pressure that those guys feel on a Monday morning to get the show ready by Friday. It's
I was surprised.
Frightening.
Bill, I was really surprised of the 50th anniversary of the show, and I know who Gene Smart is, but I guarantee you, I don't think I thought that was an odd choice to kick off this sort of big a deal of their anniversary. Did you not?
Yeah, she joked in her monologue before she sang a song that, she started her career the same time Saturday Night Live started 50 years ago. And she said, "Thank goodness I finally had an opening in my schedule."
That's good.
Yeah. It should have been maybe week 3 or 4 for Jean, but she did just come off winning an Emmy for the 3rd time in a row for Hacks.
Yep.
So, I guess they felt it was, let's go with her now.
We're going to have to wrap it up. We're going to get to one more thing. What about this? I like this thing. The films you can't believe I've never seen yet.
Right.
I thought that was a very curious that you had. I'd seen that movie years ago, but tell everyone what we're talking about.
Well, they've got this great series on right now on Turner Classic Movies where they're looking at political films, leading up to the U.S. election. So one of the ones they showed the other day was 3 Days of the Condor. Well, I'd never seen it. When I was that age, when those films were coming out, if there was a Mel Brooks comedy or Woody Allen, that's where I went. Didn't see a lot of the dramas. So I have big blanks. And I think all of us do, right? Not everybody has seen The Godfather. Not everybody has seen...
Fred hasn't seen Star Wars.
Right. So it shocks people when you admit those things. Anyway, I just thought this was what the hell? What a movie. Robert Redford directs, or is it starring in it? Max von Sydow. My God, he's incredible. Faye Dunaway plays a different character you've seen before. So it's wonderful to discover these, and especially, you go on Netflix and it's like, I've seen all the ones I want to see. It's nothing, I'm bored. What else do I have? So a lot of us are doing these sort of things to tide us over. So we're looking at old movies or old series, and this was one that I discovered this week.
Yeah, I was like that with 12 Angry Men, the original. Like
Lee J. Cobb.
I think probably till the late 90s, and I had heard about this movie, and then one day just sat and watched it, and it was just amazing.
Yeah.
Great. I was going to ask you, too, I have this thing with, I can watch a movie, like an old movie like that's probably from the 70s or early 80s. But when I watch a movie that's just a little bit old, like 15 or 20 years, where they're just, where the characters are just, like there's old computers in the background and they're using a flip phone. And I don't know, those ones make me feel weird.
Yeah.
Because it's like watching people on the cusp of technology. When you watch 3 Days of the Condor, there's no technology or whatever it is. It's like people answering phones that are on the wall.
Well, Howard, I saw an episode of Seinfeld last week. He grabs the phone and he pulls the antenna up and in his apartment. It's like, wow.
But there are series like Frasier, the original run. They made it a conscious choice not to be topical. Like nobody's thinking, did you see that Murphy Brown? What a classic episode. No one says that because it was all about the vice president goofing on her. It was too topical. Frasier is just these knucklehead brothers who are crazy vain. Yeah, their clothes are out of style and they do have the odd cell phone like a brick, but it's not as topical as a lot of other things, and that's why it ages so well.
Yeah, but that's what it is about movies from the sort of the early 2000s when I sort of have this, it just sort of makes me feel weird. And to tie it all in to Seinfeld and Saturday Night Live, one of the most famous stories, Bill maybe knows this, maybe you've heard it too, Fred, is when Larry David was a writer on Seinfeld, or on Saturday Night. You know that story?
Yes. I think so.
And it became a plot for Seinfeld, but Larry David was famous for never getting sketches on the air. And finally, on one weekend, he said, "Fuck this, I quit." And he went away, and then on the way home, he was like, "What have I done? I've quit this great job that's giving me all this money." And one of his friends said, "Well, just go back Monday and pretend it never happened." And he did. And he just sort of showed up Monday as though he hadn't quit. And that became the premise of George leaving the Yankees or whatever. But
yeah.
I know. I wish I'd have known. I could have still be at maybe the Toronto Sun if I could.
That's weird. Oh, really? Exactly. You and I could have still been working at the Mix. We could have just shown up like, what do you mean? We don't remember you firing us. Let's let everyone know that Bill Brioux, Brioux.tv, the podcast, you can talk. He's going to be talking about all the upcoming shows for this fall. I'll tell you what, before we leave you, if you had to pick one show that people should definitely have a look at for fall 2024, what would it be?
Well, right now, for me, it's Only Murders in the Building. But boy, Slow Horses. Watch season 4 of that. It's really good.
I've heard
Great
so
show.
much about that.
What's it called?
Slow Horses. It's Gary Oldman. It's set and shot in England, and it's about these guys who are the misfit squad from M16. No one wants to work with them anymore, and Oldman is the crotchety old guy who is their sort of leader. And every season, it's been just fantastic drama.
Is that a BritBox show?
It's on here on Apple TV Plus, I believe.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. It's
By the way, you're right about Only Murders. I watched. Have you watched the last episode, episode 5?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
It's a great show.
It is a great
Everybody's
show.
in it. Yeah.
Every time, my favorite running gag this season is every time they introduce Zach Galifianakis, they fuck up his name in a different way.
Yeah, he says Zach, the super Galifianakis.
Anyway, it's always a pleasure. Brioux.tv, the podcast, Brioux.tv, the blog. Maybe one day, fingers crossed. Anyways, Bill, listen, I don't want you to go away with anything but good spirits and good feelings, because we love you here, my friend.
Look, no, it was an oversight not
Listen,
posting about that experience. It should have been a picture and a little link.
Our friendship can withstand this kind of snub.
Okay. Next
All
time.
right, my friend, take care.
All right, you too, guys.
See you, Billy.
Bye-bye. See you, Fred.
The Hip were playing Massey Hall, and I can't remember. Did somebody say, what are they actually going to do there? Is it going to be a question? And are they going to play some music?
Well, I don't know. No, we heard no, because that came up during our Kelsey show, and I were told it's a Q&A, and I said, are they going to play music? And no, they don't want to go there. And that's when I made the, in the Tragically Hip doc, and Feist sang the song. And I thought that was a good spin on bringing it back. Instead of getting somebody that sounds like Gord, per se.
So when they're going to sell out Massey Hall for a question and answer?
I guess.
Well, anyway.
There'd be some music element. By the way, Howard.
Yeah.
By the way, this goes back to our CFNY days. Oasis back together. This has all happened so quickly. The Downsview Airport site. By next June, they're going to have a 50,000 seat outdoor stadium built there.
What?
Yeah. And
Really?
I guess a lot of it's prefab and everything, but it's going to be built for outdoor concerts, not for sports.
And Oasis is playing there?
August 24th, Oasis will play in front of 50,000 people at this new stadium in Downsview. It's all quite exciting. I'm thinking, how do you build a 50,000 seat stadium by next June? But again, it's probably prefab, and it's not like and they're going to leave it there for a couple of years until they decide what else they're going to do with that property. And there's other rumors beyond that, thinking, could that be the site of an NFL stadium for Toronto? Because apparently Rogers is very interested in that. But again, all speculation.
That would be a great location for it, though. Taking it out of the core, putting it somewhere where the access, for most people, it's north of the It's 401 and what would the cross be? It's like
Allen Express.
Allen. I was going to say exactly that. 401 on the Allen.
There's Go there. There's Subway goes there. So,
well, again,
highway access there.
This program supplying information that people can use, and maybe you would also, speaking of that, supply us with some information about one of our fine sponsors/supporters.
The Chambers of Commerce Group Insurance Plan, Canada's #1 group benefits for small business. Go to chamberplan.ca today, get a free quote. Dental, prescriptions, therapies, it's all there. And again, cost for small business, a huge factor. And again, if you can literally track this, premiums over the years and how they've done an outstanding job on holding the line. This is a non-profit now, so it's, they're not in it to gouge you. They're in it to help you and provide the security that you'd like to give your employees. And again, they have an HR component. They have, as I say, therapies. They have a mental health component. They have something called the Teledoc system, where you can be hooked up with doctors, to deal with that specific problem you may have. It's a wonderful thing, this Chambers of Commerce Group Insurance Plan, chamberplan.ca.
Tell you what else is wonderful. Kelsey's Original Roadhouse, where it all happened last week. Another great time with our audience at a great location. There's all kinds of great locations. In fact, what you should know about Kelsey's. is that they have awesome deals every day. They celebrate happy hour, not just once, but twice per day. 3 to 5, 8 to close. That's $5 draft beer, wine, and mixed drinks. What? And $10 appetizers. And don't forget Wednesdays and Thursdays, half-price wings. You know, we gave away wings for a year. But even if you didn't win it, it's not a big deal because the wings are half price 2 times in the week. Lunch trios, if you want to go there for lunch, great food. What is it you ate that you told me that was so good there?
Oh, the buffalo chicken sandwich.
Oh, come on. You could get that. It's part of the lunch trio starting at $14.99. Find out more for all the great Kelsey's deals. Go to kelseys.ca or your local Kelsey's for details. Well, it's pretty exciting now. When we first met this fellow, when we first came across this character, he was just a regular guy. And now he's all grown up. He's all grown up. He's the host of his own podcast. You know, he used to be an author, just a guy around town, an expert. But now, please welcome to the program the founder and CEO of Fusion Corp Developments, author of Building Toronto's Skyline, and host of the new Building Toronto's Skyline podcast. It's a lot to take in. Please say hi to Nick Innes.
It's a lot, guys. It's a lot. But you know what?
Wow,
You guys
man.
can take it. You've been around for a long time, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you guys got the stuff. What can I say?
Yeah, but what about your stuff? Have you actually done an episode of the podcast yet, or is it in the
did.
planning? Where are we with it?
I was going to lead up to that today, guys, but you caught me right away. You know, you see? That's how good you guys are. Your business here. But yeah, so I did my first podcast with Mike Boone, Toronto.
Mm-hmm. Of course.
Yeah, it was very well. Who else would I wouldn't use anyone else. I wouldn't do it if I wasn't associated with Humble and Fred.
Sure.
Now,
do we get a piece? Do we get a piece of that? Is that
a clip? You want a clip?
We get a little taste. Come on, man. We get a little taste.
I'm at the condo report. We're gonna get in. I'm on the condo report right now. I got my condo report hat on.
All right. Don't get excited.
Which is no hat.
Okay,
But,
so
go ahead, guys.
No, I was just going to say the podcast. So how long would an episode be?
So they're half hour episodes.
Okay.
It was basically a nice chat with me and Mike a little bit about what the what the podcast was going to be about. A little introduction about myself, and we're going to be booking guests just like you guys do, but they're not going to be so funny and
like you're going to book guests from a condo.
I'm going to make it fun.
Are you going to book a building manager and then book somebody that handle like maintenance or like all the people in the condo?
Well, I'm going to tell you who my first guest is. It's a friend of mine. His name is Mario Ribeiro from Triumph Developments and Roofing and Cladding Company.
Nice.
And we're going to talk about his company, but we're also going to talk about a major acquisition that he did. He bought a major window company, which supplies windows for the condo market, and who also. The person he bought it from also happens to be a friend of mine. And we're going to talk about his acquisition, and we're going to talk about a special cladding system that he's trying to develop for the condo industry. So it's going to be pretty exciting. Yeah.
Right on.
Well, listen, we're excited for you. When Mike told me about it, I said, there's nobody better than Boone, and putting Boone and you together, it can only be successful. And we're proud to have been the place where the great condo report started, and this is your time. I mean, this is time for you. We missed you, by the way, at Kelsey's last week. Guys.
I would have loved.
Buddy,
I'm kicking myself for not being there. I would have. Who knows what could have happened if I was there?
Who knows? You could have done a condo deal in the Kelsey's parking lot. But here's where we're at. What's going on with the condo world today? I know we had a bit of an interest cut, and that was a while ago. But is there any?
Yes.
Anything going on? Is there any movement?
Well, there's a little bit of movement, but not much. I would say that there's going to be another rate cut coming in on October 23rd. Very likely we're going to see another rate cut. Our neighbors in the south are also going to cut interest rates. And interest rates, as you know, is the key to spurring the real estate industry and the condo industry. And it's going to help the condo market and will open up, like I said, the market to everybody. And, I think a lot of developers are still waiting to launch, except for, 60 on Broadway is poised to launch. And they are going to be launching in the next few days. So it's October 1st. By mid-October, I think I would expect that sales office to be open and reaching out to the public. So it's exciting news and, more details to come. So that's just the market. And I want to say I went to the Albany Club. You forgot to mention.
Well, there's so much with you. You did the Albany Club speech. Everyone's excited about it. Like, you know what? People were talking about it's like a speech like no one's ever seen.
No, of course, because nobody talks about history and patterns and market conditions in the condo industry like I do. So that author's reception at the Albany Club, it went really well. We had some great panelists, and we discussed the state of the condo market. Most and more importantly, that we had a parallel to the 90s, the mid 90s in the condo market, and we discussed a little bit about that, and that we were in a rut. We're in a rut right now. We're looking to get out of it. And, believe it or not, there were 20,000 vacant units in the condo industry in the mid 90s. And very similarly today, there's about 17,000 vacant condos, maybe more. Maybe it's closer to 20,000. So you see the parallels, and those patterns and parallels are all in my book if you want to learn a little bit about the condo industry, the condo market. And you're going to see a lot of that kind of stuff in my book, in the podcast, on the Condo Report. And I just wanted to say that when I am doing my podcast, I am going to be only taking the best information, not the worst information, not the mediocre information.
Yeah. Well, that's a good rule of thumb.
Yeah, take the best.
But the best information to bring it here to the Condo Report.
Oh, I see. You're gonna cull the best of the Condo Report or the Building Toronto Skyline podcast and bring it here so that our audience benefits from it. I have a legitimate question for you because there's a lot of condos being built in my neighborhood. And, I'm starting to think like, well, if I was to leave my domicile now, which is a townhouse, where would I go? Would I go to a condo? And, I'm probably going to have this car that I have. It's an electric vehicle. I know that may not sit well with you because, you love fossil fuels. But where?
Wait a minute. Why are you doing some dirty digging on me? Or
no. I'm just saying that. I'm just making an assumption. You love your fossil fuels. No, my legitimate my legitimate question is: are condo builders making allowances for people with electric vehicles more and more?
The answer is absolutely yes. Of course. So what we started doing, we did the rough-in for the car chargers a while ago, but now a lot of developers are putting in these car charging stations in the condos. Because in your spot, you can get it in your.
Well, that's what I wanted to ask you. Eventually you'll have a spot, your C123, and you could ask for for it to put in pre-build, or when you buy a condo, you say, I need an electric vehicle spot, so they will find you one in the building?
Yeah, so you can negotiate it through your agreement of purchase and sale, just like you said.
Okay.
I think you may be an expert in this too,
Sure.
And, but you can negotiate through your agreement of purchase and sale, through the developer, through the sales team. And later on, if you decide to switch in your fossil fuel car, which you shouldn't, but if you did decide to do something drastic like that, you can certainly go to your property management company, and they'll probably arrange something where you can get it all fairly easy.
Okay.
You may have to pay some upfront
No, but
costs.
legitimately, I would only imagine of all these condos around here, they've got to be roughing it in and allowing for more and more of the electric vehicle market.
Hey, and by the way, those condos in the area of Islington and the Queensway, I mean, there's quite a few of them. You'd probably get a good deal on one of those condos right now, would you not?
Yeah, prices have softened in the condo industry, and I think you have to look around for the best deal. You're probably not going to see it so much at the new construction sales office, although if there's something that's has already been in the sales pipeline for some time, you may be able to get another deal that way. But there are always deals to be had. But usually in this case, as the market softens, you're going to see just less and less developers launching projects, and there are fewer deals. But if you're going to look for a deal in the resale market. Look for a condo that's been trying to sell for over a year or something like that, and haven't reached that threshold to start construction yet. So you might still be able to get a good deal out there for sure.
Mm-hmm. Good to know.
Good to know, because I tell you what, Freddie, I've seen some of the prices in this neighborhood. That whatever that development is, where the Milestones and Kelsey's used to be, there's two buildings there. I'm going to say I think it's a Tridel, but those prices, it's not cheap. I mean, they're starting in the 600s. I'll tell you where you can get a great deal. If you go to 60, number 60 on Broadway.com. You see what I did there? Tied it in, brought it back. This is what, if you need any podcast consulting, yes, you've got the best in Toronto, Mike, but the two of us, we know what I'm doing. If you want a great deal, 60 on Broadway.com, that's a place to go. And people will be pleasantly surprised what that whole Orangeville vibe can give you.
Yeah, it's going to be really exciting. We're very thrilled. I'm going to report live to you on the next condo report. Hopefully, we're going to see how 60 on Broadway is doing, and we're going to test the market. Can you believe that? Where can you find out what's going on live?
Hard to believe.
It's
you know what?
It's groundbreaking.
It is beyond anything that people are talking about. Hey, I've got an idea for you, by the way, completely free. And I'll pass this by our mutual producer. See, now we're in the same family. We have a mutual producer.
What can we say?
You know what I would just, again, you can do what you want, and you can think this is a silly idea, but you might want to, if you have time, or Mike has time, to edit out some of the gold from the Humble and Fred Show condo report and bring it in to Building Toronto Skyline, the podcast, and then you would have synergy and cross-pollination. No, I mean, seriously, for a second, like if you say something here that you make a good point, or we help you define some of the content, I would pluck it out and play it on your show.
Hey, you know what? I love that. That's a great idea. Let's see if Mike, I want to know, this is a question to Mike. Mike, you're listening right now. You
Obviously.
hear that? Let's make it.
Yeah, he's gonna. Let's make it happen. He's gonna fucking hate that because he's gonna hate that because it's like, wait a second, I didn't sign on for that amount of work.
Yeah.
Anyway, listen, it's a gig. So, you know what? We're blessed. We're blessed to have the great Nick Innes, the Condo Report. The book is Building Toronto Skyline, and that is also the name of his podcast. And as I mentioned, go to the number 60 on Broadway.com to find out more about that development. And great to have you here, my friend.
It's been a pleasure as always, and I really enjoyed coming back here. And I missed that live show with Kelsey.
People love you live. People love you live.
But we will be back live. Okay.
Yeah. Well, thanks, to man. Make up for it, maybe you can take me and Howard out to lunch one day or something. But
Are you guys around or what? Aren't you in Mexico? I can't go.
No. Listen, before we go away. Before we go away, you come gather us in the Innes Mobile, and we'll go hang out and have some food. All right, my friend.
Good.
Take care.
Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, Nigger. Way to go, buddy.
Bye-bye. Thanks, guys.
Okay, Nicker. That's his new name. All right, Nicker. Thanks, Nicky. Have you done I knew I'd make you laugh when I said, I know you're into fossil fuels. All right. Do you want to talk about Bodog? Because I've been waiting all morning because you said there was some cool record set in the NFL last night.
Well, there's two sports stories of note. First, the passing of Pete Rose, Howard, at 83 years old.
Yeah.
What what Pete Rose did at the time wasn't the best, the betting, wagering on baseball, but to think he is still not in the Hall of Fame. And now if it happens, it'll be posthumously, or whatever, which is sort of sad for him because he should be in, given the atmosphere of pro sports now and wagering and betting and such a huge revenue stream for them. It's, to me, the story is sad. So he dies not knowing ever, well, not going into the Hall of Fame. And if they end up putting him in there, it'll just be sad. That's all I can say.
I mean, at the time, prior to the scandal, the betting scandal,
Yeah.
he was a lot of people's favorite baseball player. Played for the Cincinnati Reds. His nickname was Charlie Hustle. He was a dynamic player. He put up Hall of Fame easily, first ballot Hall of Fame numbers.
Oh, no question.
And then, you know, the scandal hit, and as you said, given that we're about to talk about betting, how it's so widespread and so accepted, it is kind of a drag that, you know, he won't have seen him getting into the Hall of Fame. But it's, you know, it's also, there's another side to this. He was betting on his own team and teams he was managing. So it's more than just a guy betting on sports. He was betting on and being in a position to influence the game, which is why he was banned from baseball.
But he still maintains he never bet on his own team to lose.
No, but he was managing teams. He could have kept pitch. He had the ability to keep pitchers in and out.
No. Yeah. Hey, listen, the optics were horrible. There's no getting around that.
Right.
No getting around that. But now he's dead.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Our discussion, our discussion before the show, I said to you, something happened to me last night that, you know, the evolution of my interest in NFL football primarily was Buffalo Bills centric, and then sort of my second team was Kansas City because I like Mahomes. But something happened last night where neither of the teams I follow were playing. I just turned on the NFL, and now as I said to you, it's weird because I sat there watching parts of two different games because I'm a fan of the product.
Yes,
which is a weird. It was kind of interesting for me because I'm like, hey, I just enjoy the game, even though I don't really have any stake in who wins them. Right. Which then you said, well, some cool things happened last night.
Yeah. First of all, the Detroit Lions, they're a fun team to watch. I mean, you know, for perennial losers, like a nothing team that's turned into something. Anyway, Jared Goff, their quarterback last night, went 18 for 18 passing. That's the most. The previous record was 10 for 10.
Wow.
You know, that's not a lot of passing in a game, but he set a record last night going 18 for 18. The most, the highest pass total without an incompletion, which is quite notable. And to win the game, also, Jared Goff, he caught a touchdown pass last night. I don't know, you know, the little play, he threw it to the halfback, St. Brown, and then St. Brown threw it to Goff, and he caught a touchdown pass. That in itself is pretty cool.
That's crazy.
But another record is set when Goff threw a touchdown pass to St. Brown. So it's the first time ever in a game that a quarterback has thrown a touchdown pass to he's a running back, and then the running back throws a touchdown pass to the quarterback, where they've sort of traded, done it for each other in the same game. So another record, again, sort of obscure stuff, but
that's
still,
pretty cool.
That happened last night.
You know, and I didn't see the touchdown pass to Goff, but I did tell you that I watched some of that Detroit game. They're a fun team to watch, as you said.
Yeah, they are. In fact.
So which game did you watch? I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I said I've never been much of an NFC guy. I've always leaned into the AFL, the old AFL and AFC, but I'm open for an NFC favorite, and that may be it.
Which game did you watch, if you did, to completion? Or did you?
Neither one.
Yeah, me neither. I watched some of the...
I didn't see any of either game.
Oh, okay.
I watched The Voice with Dahl last night.
Right. Well, I was watching the Titans and Dolphins for a while, and was reminded that Tua, whatever, is out of the... is he out for the season or just out for a couple of games? He's the one with he got the concussion again.
Pending.
Yeah, so he's had a bunch of concussions. And then I watched Detroit and... who are they playing again? Seattle, right. Yeah, so altogether probably an hour or 45 minutes to an hour of just NFL football, because I dig the product. I dig the product. I dig knowing a little bit more than I used to about how the game is played, and it's become more fascinating over time. And I'm turning into my dad now, because I just watch. I'm watching football now. Check this out. I watched parts of games Thursday. I didn't see any of the Friday. Saw some on Sunday, and now Monday I've watched some NFL.
Well, you didn't miss anything on Friday because there was no Friday game.
But are they not doing a Friday night game or no?
They did opening of the season, and I think maybe a couple more times during the season, but it's not going to be a regular thing.
Right. Because
they have to protect high school football in the States.
Right, of course.
By not doing Friday.
But now they're doing 2 games on Monday. And
sometimes.
Well, the last couple of Mondays they've had them on.
Yeah, I know, but it's not every week.
Oh, okay. So there's games Monday, Thursday, and Sunday. And Sunday night. God. There's been a full show, and yet we still have more great content.
But let me remind you,
yes,
whether you're a sports bettor, a horse racing fan, a poker or casino player, Bodog, your number one source of online gambling entertainment. From their industry-leading odds, world-class sportsbook to their fully loaded casino and race book, they've been providing Canadian players with a great gaming experience since 1994. That is that.
I'm just going over my notes, and I was trying so hard this morning while I was making these notes to do it slowly enough to make them understandable. Never used to pay this close ahead. What does that even mean, Howard?
Maybe the NFL.
Oh, never used to pay this close attention. Oh, no, that was to do with politics.
Oh, okay.
I was thinking about this. I don't know about you guys. We always talk about when we were younger. I was 29 when you and I started working together. You were 33. And you got into it before me. You were in your late 30s, and I was still... early 30s, and you became more politically aware than I was. I was a little later. But I remember there was a time in both of our lives when we weren't really paying this much attention. Certainly to American politics. Again, Dan, don't worry. This will not be about Trump.
Really?
This will not be a Trump spot. Just more of the idea. I just want to go back to a time when I'm not checking my phone first thing in the morning to see what the fuck else this guy's done.
Well, let's go back to the last normal election would have been Obama against Mitt Romney. And again, whether you lean to the left or you lean to the right, Democrat, Republican, it was still 2 normal human beings running for office. So you didn't really care. You might be partial to one side or the other. You didn't really care who won because it might not have that much an effect on you. But now that this low-life, disgusting, criminal, fucking creep, sexual abuser is running...
Not talking about Trump.
You can't help but be drawn in by the fascination of it and the consequences of it.
What you said is so true about Obama. I paid very little attention to the Obama presidency. I'm serious. It was just something out there in U.S. politics, and every once in a while, there was some stink about him wearing a tan suit, and I was like, oh, that's cute. But it wasn't on crisis mode every day.
Howard, back when he ran against in 2008, and it was great in 2008, yep. A black man became president. He was running against John McCain, and McCain was doing a town hall, and somebody in the crowd took a shot at Obama. I think it was the birther thing, and McCain stopped him and said, stop, right there. Barack Obama is a nice man. He has a wonderful family. He's a decent human being. This is politics. I will talk about issues, nothing personal. And that's John McCain. This is the guy that Donald Trump is pissed all over.
Yeah.
Donald Trump is degraded and diminished. What is wrong with these people that still latch?
And I'm telling you the truth, Dan, this really wasn't a Trump talk spot. I just wanted to mention that it would be nice to go back to not paying attention. Having said that, and what my partner, my colleague, is so rightfully articulated, I will be watching J.D. Vance versus Walz tonight.
Oh, yeah.
That's must-see TV at 9 p.m. Eastern.
Is it 9?
It's 9, Dan.
Yeah. Oh.
No, it's too late for Dan. Too late for Grandpa Dan.
Well, it's just so late.
Oh. Why can't they have it at 4:30 when I'm having my dinner?
I get it, because, the East Coast needs to see, or the West Coast needs to see it, but, oh boy.
No, I know, it's
why
late.
Why don't they just do it why don't they do it in a central time zone so that,
Well done. To make it more convenient.
Just do it for you.
Yes, exactly.
I'm hosting an event tonight for my friend Tim O'Connor.
He's written a book, and he's the guy I do the golf podcast with. And Tim's book release, launch, or whatever, is tonight. And I'm hosting the event. And it wraps up around...
At a golf course?
No, at a bowling alley, Dad. No. Why would it?
So what time does it end?
It ends at a quarter or so till 9. So I will be listening to it on my way home from Milton.
The different strategies... because, Fox News and the Republicans and Trump and everything have been accusing CBS of being slanted towards the Democrats. And, it's to intimidate the moderators, obviously. And then CBS came out yesterday and said there will be no fact-checking, real-time fact-checking. And it's like, Jesus Christ, man. What's the fucking use of having the thing?
No, I know. So that bothered me so much, too. It's like the point of a debate is to push back, whether it's from the moderators or each other. So I don't know. I'm already frustrated. Anyway.
Wouldn't it be better to have them, both of them just sit down at a desk and the moderator really doesn't do a whole lot of things and just let them check each other and chat and talk over top of each other and yell at stuff? Wouldn't that be better?
Mm-hmm.
You know what it's funny you say that, because I had this idea for these debates. Why not sit them down beforehand and say, listen, we've got this list of questions. Each one of you is going to get the same question. You know what I mean? So they can't be accused of, well, you asked him but you didn't ask this guy that. No, going in, you're going to be asked the exact same questions. Mm-hmm. But they're going to be fact-checked along the way. They've got to come up with a different solution because, again...
No, I agree. Formatically,
it's almost like, what's the point?
What's the point? Because it's just going to be, and the fact that they're... this is the point I was trying to make about back in a time when you didn't really pay much attention. Mm-hmm. The fact that the second the previous debate was over, where he lost horribly... Mm-hmm. And again, isn't it ironic? Trump's running around talking about how mentally disabled she is, but she fucking kicked your ass, you fucking moron. Again, not talking about Trump. Hey, Dad, we're not talking about Trump.
No, we're not. No, it's coming up. Coming up on the show, we're going to talk about Trump.
But the fact is, already, as you said, they're they just can't lose. Mm-hmm. And that's what's most disturbing. Dan, we have time for your news, so let's do the Dan Duran news is today brought to you by our friends at Bodog. You heard Fred talk about him, but what does Bodog have to say?
When the puck drops, it's time to play. It's easy to find your next favorite game at Bodog.net. Check out the latest sports odds and get free tips to help you score this hockey season. Visit Bodog.net today. #MakeAPlay.
Now, here's to a fella named Dan Duran, a hell of a guy with a hella big wang, the quintessential anchor man, his voice is nice and low. Ho! Dan Duran, the anchorman comes, as for credentials he has none, can't tell a headline from his bum, but his voice is nice and low. Dan Duran, the anchorman's here. He's prone to falling off his chair, but he's got a big wang, so he don't care, and his voice is nice and low.
My voice is nice and low.
And now live from Lakeside, where Dan will be until they pull his cold, rigid, dead body from the lake. Dan's not going anywhere.
No.
Here he is, movie anchor and television series regular, Daniel J. Giebers.
Yeah, I love this trailer. I'm not going anywhere until I finish.
Dan is going to be there. Rigor mortis will have set in. They'll have to unfold his crinkly old sack.
I'm going to enjoy every moment I can here. All right, here's the news. By the way, if I break up, please let me know because the internet's not working too well up here.
Yeah.
Okay, so Israel is celebrating Rosh Hashanah by invading Lebanon. There's a 42-foot traveling nude marionette sculpture of Trump was revealed on its first stop in Vegas.
Yeah, I saw it.
Totally nude.
Yeah.
With the peanut. And Jimmy Carter turns 100 today and has decided not to run again. But let's talk about shipping.
Yeah, bad news.
Shipping. Did you know, I didn't even know, that dock workers in Montreal are on a 3-day strike that will end on Thursday morning. Demands about regular scheduling and higher wages. Meanwhile, more than 85,000 longshoremen in the U.S. at U.S. ports are on strike. One ask is way more money, and the other is no robots. I had no idea that they want a total ban on automation of cranes, gates, and container moving trucks that are used in loading or unloading freights at 36 U.S. ports right now. 63 ports in the world have this advanced automation technology, which basically, all those things I just mentioned are robots. All they really need is maintenance people and IT jobs to maintain all this, and somebody, overseeing it all from some big tower somewhere to make sure everything's working right. So they want a total ban on this, and I guess port operators are saying, well, it's inevitable. We're going to automate all the ports in the long run anyway because it's more efficient and better and whatever. So there's a big clash going on there, which is totally understandable. Fewer workers are needed. How are people going to be compensated? What's big disruption in the if there's 85,000 people on strike, that's a huge hit for any kind of community that has longshoremen in them.
Yeah. It's $91 million a day is what I read this morning is what it's going to cost the economy.
Oh, it's a huge cost to the economy. And then a lot of people, if it goes on for any length of time, people are worried about the cost of everything. And, of course, Christmas presents. Will we be able to afford Christmas this year, honey?
Do you know what I found out the other day from somebody I know who's in the transportation business? Do you know what a longshoreman makes?
I think isn't it like $35 an hour or something like that?
Oh, no, it's way more than that.
Oh.
Like, it's a real grown-up salary. It's a lot of money.
Before you were a longshoreman, are you a short shoreman?
Mm-hmm. You have to apprentice. Yeah, you do. Yeah. First you're a beginner shoreman.
Yeah.
Before you get longshoreman, absolutely. Dan was born a longshoreman. It's not fair. Dan went to the front of the line.
Yeah, that's wild. Jimmy Carter, 100 years old. I saw the picture of him yesterday, and it's like, oh, Jimmy.
Yeah.
He's still, although he's still sort of coherent. I heard an interview with him, and he answered questions and everything, but he does look like a Halloween character.
Yeah, the human body. Mm-hmm. You get past a certain point where it's just, why bother? We're all fast approaching that, but we're not there yet. But yeah.
When I see that, somebody 100 years old, honestly, I often think, what are their dumps like? What I mean?
Is that where you go to?
No, I can't. Honestly, I can't help but think, my God, because your mind races off and they need help with that and wiping their bum. But I don't know. It's just, is that weird? I concur that. I think of that in a lot of different situations. For instance, when
when I see morbidly obese people, I wonder, how do they get on the throne? How do they get on the toilet? What's that all about?
How do you get your arm
How
around
do you get your arm
butt?
around?
Yeah. You must have those things that you put in your toilet, that sprays water up your ass. What's it called?
The bidet.
Yeah,
mine's. I have that called. It's called
what is
a
yours
tushy.
called? The one,
The tushy.
Huh?
Yeah, tushy.
Yeah, a tushy. Yeah, right.
Yeah. They're awesome.
We have questions, Dan.
I have a question.
Yeah, exactly.
No, what do you imagine that's going on with Jimmy Carter then? Do you just imagine a lot of diarrhea? Is that what your thoughts are?
I don't know, because when you're a shriveled old 100-year-old guy and what your diet is and everything, it's just like, I don't know. I know.
Right here,
Crazy.
another. This one right here. See where my thumb is?
What?
That says back on the Musil. I'm 64 years old. I have recently gone back on the Musil because I did not like the consistency of my BM. So imagine a 100-year-old guy.
Yeah.
You've been shitting for 100 years, Dan. What's
your
that?
Your bowels got to go enough.
Yeah, no,
I've been pushing for 100
exactly.
years.
What kind of? How do you even keep it in?
These are the things that
I'm serious, by the way. I actually about a week ago I was like something weird going on, so I thought I'll just get back on the Musil, and it's fantastic. It's a miracle, really.
It might be connected to your cock lump.
No, dick lump. Dick lump, private eye. It may be. There's a lot of activity going on there in the abdomen. Dan, do you ever?
Musil's come a long way, right?
Oh, it's so good. It's so good.
Different flavors and everything now.
Mine, I want to get orange.
Oh, lovely. Oh, the orange is nice.
Orange flavored. What do you mean?
Really?
What flavor would you have it be, Dan?
Not orange. Oh.
It's the most popular flavor of the Musil.
Oh yeah, and I've had it, and it's almost like an orange drink. You would, if you didn't tell someone, and you said, "Hey, would you like a nice orange flavored drink?" and they said, "Sure," they wouldn't know.
What kind of conversation would that be? Excuse me. Yes, Fred. Would you like a nice orange flavored drink? That doesn't seem suspicious. No. Most people would say, would you like a drink? I have orange flavor. Jesus. Talk about creepy. Dan, why did you turn your nose up at orange? And what the fuck could that be now?
I don't know. I just, I guess I don't like orange soda pop. Not that we're.
Do you like
adding
orange
soda
juice,
stream
Dan?
Medium on it. Yeah, I don't drink much.
Okay, well,
I'm not an orange juice guy.
Well, I'm not either, but I don't hate it the way Dan does. Do you hate orange flavor the same way you hate the fat? Is it similar or less?
Totally unrelated. But here's the. If I go to the shelf and I was picking flavors, it would be orange would be the last one.
All right.
Grape is also, grape, purple and all. I don't know. Grape would also.
Well, here's what I want to say. Orange, you're glad we had this discussion?
Hey, when I was a kid, not in a can, a bottle of Orange Crush. Oh, I loved that as a kid. Orange Crush in a bottle. Wow.
I will agree with you on this subject, Dan. Freshly squeezed orange juice as a product, way overrated.
Doll gets that Tropicana stuff for the kids. If I have to, I'll cut it with water.
Yeah.
Like I'll put half water, half orange juice. It's too much. I'm not.
And I agree with you, Dan. It's not my soda of choice. Never has been.
Yeah. You do know that the Tropicana is got flavor packs in it, right?
What do you mean?
Well, the way they make it is they squeeze a whole bunch of oranges and then they kind of take the flavor out with the way they store it because it's not from concentrate. They
No, we get it. Yeah.
Okay, well, fuck
so it's
them,
in a big sugar.
I'm sorry. What's that, Fred?
Fuck them.
Yeah, fuck those guys.
But just so you know, and then they reconstitute it with flavor packs. And there's companies out there that create flavor packages to add, so that when they put it back into a package rather than a huge vat like a carton or something, they have these packs.
Well, you just leave it to Dan Duran to take the fucking to take on Big Orange. Fuck. He's frozen now. Mm-hmm. Did you hear what I said, Dan? His internet isn't working at all.
No.
Did you hear what I said? Leave it to you to take on Big Orange.
Oh yeah, I'll take on Big Orange.
Dan's going to call the manager Dan's going to call the manager of Orange
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll fight for the little people.
You do.
know what's really awful? Brush your teeth and then drink orange juice.
Yeah.
Oh, it's awful.
No, it's terrible. That's how they torture prisoners back in. That was how they would fucking try and get. They would get at Guantanamo Bay.
We'll get you.
Guantanamo Bay.
Yeah.
All right. Tomorrow, I've got some bad news for you two. Tomorrow.
Really?
Yup. There's bad news. The Stats Canada printed out the top 20 baby names.
Yeah.
And you two were not on it. All I want to say is welcome to the snub club, baby. Welcome to the snub.
Were you on it? Was Howard?
Fuck Howard.
Yes.
I will tell you tomorrow. I've got this thing I found on Stats Canada. I have a way to tell you how unpopular, but the percentage, the tiny percentage of each of our names, and mine's the fucking by far in the... You're so far ahead of me. It's incalculable.
I wonder what year it was that your name was on that list.
Yeah, 6,000 years ago. That's when that name was popular. God damn it.
Howard, I saw that list and, okay, Howard and Fred, I'm not surprised, but I was because Daniel used to hang around, but it's not in there anymore.
Daniel isn't even in the top 20 anymore, mister.
That's weird. It's a book of the Bible. It's a book of the Bible.
It's the Bible.
And again, not to give too much away, you know what blew me away too on the girls' side? Sophia and Sophia, two different names spelled differently, made the top 20. And then Sophie. So Sophia with PH, Sophia with an F, and then Sophie.
Well, fuck, man. Why don't we just do the whole bit right now? Why don't we just do the whole fucking bit right now?
No, but
here's another little
tease.
tease.
Talk about a popular name.
On the girls' list is both Charlotte. Let me just double check this so I don't fuck it up. Is both... where'd it go? Baby name observatory. Hang on, it's loading. Loading data. Mm-hmm. Very surprising. Charlotte and Charlie. My daughter's name is Charlie. I'm not sure if you're aware of that.
Fantastic.
That Charlie finally got into the list of most popular baby names for girls. People are now thinking, what else could they be talking about? Well, tune in tomorrow. We will have another Trump-free discussion.
Can't wait not to talk about Trump tomorrow.
We will not be talking about Trump again tomorrow. Now here's that wrap.
This episode of Humble and Fred was brought to you by the Retirement Sherpa, the Chambers Plan, Boron One, Bodog, our newest sponsor, Ridley Funeral Home, and Kelsey's Original Roadhouse. For contests and comments, we read all of the emails. Humble and Fred at humbleandfredradio.com. Humble and Fred at humbleandfredradio.com. Email show coming up tomorrow. Tell us what you think. And here's something you can do to help us out. Tell your friends about us. Subscribe. That's really important. And maybe rate the podcast. We would appreciate it. For Humble and Fred from the Richard Bullis Zoom Theater, I'm Dan Duran. And remember, if you need penis advice, there's always Dick Lump, Private Eye, and Bent Pecker Fred. They can help you enjoy every goddamn day.